Hello everybody, I'm Matthew Brune here with Geaux247, and today I'm going to be doing a little tiered list where we look at 23 LSU players and putting them in tiers based on the likelihood of them making an all-SEC team in the 2022 season. As you can see, those are the players below. We have 12 offensive players and 11 defensive players, most of which are starters. Some are interesting players that I wanted to look at. But we will be spending a couple, maybe a minute or two on each one, and hopefully get through this thing kind of fast. So if you enjoy the content, subscribe, leave a like, send it to a friend. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Check out our site at Geaux247.com for the latest on LSU athletics, and hope this is an interesting video for y'all. So let's get into it. Obviously, there are two all-SEC teams, and that makes for some limited spots. I think this is going to be a good look at not only setting expectations for these individuals, but also looking at what they're capable of if things go right for them this coming season. So let's get into it. First with John Emery, running back for LSU, entering his senior season, final season. He's hard to place for me, but I'm going to put more in the unlikely category. Some people are higher on him than others. Some people think Noah Cain might compete. Some people think Armani Goodwin will take carries. I definitely think it's going to be a running back by committee type group this year, which will lower Emery's numbers. But obviously, Emery has the highest ceiling, has the best chance at a breakout season. Last year, he was hampered with other off-the-field stuff. But I think this year he puts it all together under Brian Kelly, and they are able to utilize him as their premier back. But making an all-SEC team when only 4 running backs do, that's not going to be easy. So I'll put him in the unlikely category. Unlikely to possible. I think unlikely is probably the safer choice here. Malik Neighbors is the next pick here, and only 4 receivers make it. So I will also put him in this unlikely category. I hope I have enough space in this category looking at it. But Malik Neighbors is someone who really jumped off the field to me during the spring. I thought he was a breakout candidate. Him and Jack Besh and alternating slot type roles. I think he has great hands, a great catch radius, great route running. I don't remember which. I think it was Jaden Daniels. So one of the quarterbacks said, just throw it to him and he'll catch the ball. He has great hands in that respect. So I don't think he breaks out on that level because only 2 receivers make the first team and 2 receivers make the second team. It's 4 receivers, so it'll be tough. But Malik Neighbors is a guy I'm excited to watch for this year. Next on the list, Kayshon Boutte, I think he's a lock. And obviously a lock, assuming all these players are healthy, assuming nothing crazy happens. I think if Kayshon Boutte plays to his potential, he's a lock to make an all-SEC team. He's a lock to be a top 4 receiver in the conference, and he's a lock to be a first-round draft pick this year. I mean, he's the numbers speak for himself. He had 9 touchdowns before he went down with an injury against Kentucky last year, and I expect him to pick up right where he left off after recovering from that injury. Next, we have Brian Thomas, receiver, and this one's tough because he did get a lot of first-team reps. I expect him and Jere Jenkins to be in that category. I could have maybe left him off, but I do want to talk about him because I think he's I'll put him in the no category for now. Not because I don't think he's talented. I think he's very talented. There's just so many mouths to be fed here with Malik Neighbors, with Kayshon Boutte. I think Jere Jenkins gets some snaps. Jack Besh, who we'll talk about later, will get some receptions as well. I just don't think there's enough on the play here, but I'm really excited about his future in the coming years. He had a good freshman year, and I think coming back, I expect him to be a contributor for this team early on. I just don't think he'll make an all-SEC team. That's asking a lot. All right, now we get to Myles Brennan. I'm gonna put him in the possible category. I actually feel pretty good about Myles Brennan if he gets the starting job. Now that is still an if to me. I know a lot of people have already pinned him in, put it down in Sharpie. Myles Brennan is gonna be a starting quarterback. I still think there's gonna be a competition in the fall. I think it's gonna be tough, but I would lean towards Brennan at the moment. And if he gets the starting job, I think there's a good chance that he finishes as one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC. I wouldn't project it at this moment, but I think it's possible, which is why I have him in the possible category. Obviously, there's going to be a handful of really talented quarterbacks in the SEC. I mean, it depends on what you make of like a guy like Will Levis. It's Hendon Hooker. go down the list, Bryce Young will obviously be in the lock category. But I think there's some room for there if Miles Brennan gets in there, stays healthy, with the talent he has around him to be in that conversation. So I'll put him in the possible list for now. Next is Tremont Shorts. I only have how many offensive linemen do I have? I have 3 offensive linemen on here, and that's because there's so much fluctuation at this moment with the offensive line. Tremont Shorts for me is probably going to be a no. There's going to be a lot of competition for him coming into this, right? They're going to get Garrett Dellinger back. They're going to get Marlon Martinez back. I think the interior offensive line is going to be really malleable throughout the year. I think Tremont Shorts has a good opportunity to solidify a starting offensive line spot, but then take it a step further to be on, I'm looking at it now, there's 8 total offensive linemen, 4 for each team, and then 1 center for each team. So that's obviously 10 offensive linemen make the cut. He's not going to be a center based on what we saw during the spring, so that cuts down to 8 spots. And I don't think he gets there. But Tremont Shorts is someone I wanted to shout out because I think he had a really good spring, and I think that he's going to be in contention for a starting spot come to the fall. So that's a name to keep an eye on. Jaden Daniels is really, really fascinating to me. I'm going to put in the unlikely category because if he gets the starting job, I definitely think there's a chance that he has a really good year. I think he's capable. The question is, will he get the starting job? And another question is, can his legs work the way that, can they blitz an opposing defense the way that he did at Arizona State? I went back and watched the UCLA game last year where he was terrific. There is a potential there and there's a ceiling there that I think Denbrock and Kelly see. The question is, can he put it together at this level? And that's going to be the difficult part. That's why I have him in unlikely. However, if he did make one, it's not like, when I put, say, a no category, I think I should probably name it shocked because that would shock me. It wouldn't shock me if Emery, Neighbors, and Daniels made it. It would just be it would be surprising, So, yeah, there's Jaden Daniels. Next up, Miles Frazier, I will also have in the unlikely category. Let's put him in the possible category because I actually think he's going to have a really, really good year. And I think we saw during the spring he's a flexible guy. He was at tackle early, bounced down to guard, and I think held his own there. I think he's going to start one way or the other. I just think there's so much that Brad Davis has to do with that offensive line to kind of figure out what he wants. I think Miles Frazier has a pretty good shot at not only starting but being one of the better offensive linemen on LSU, and then therefore being, if he can emerge, as the year goes on, as being like, damn, this guy is like dominating. They're running behind him every time, or he's just not giving up, sacks or pressures. I think Miles Frazier is a guy who could possibly make an All-SEC team this year. Noah Cain, some people are higher on him than I am. I'm going to put him in a no. Like I said, some people might see him as one of the key backs this year. I don't really see that. I still think it's going to be running back by committee, but is he going to be able to come in and supplant a guy like Armani Gilmore or Trey Bradford, 2 guys who I think had pretty good springs and will be able to earn carries this fall? So I'm going to have him in the no category. Jack Besh, possible. Definitely possible. And I know I have Malik Neighbors down here. I think Jack Besh just has more of proof of concept to me because last year we saw what he did on the field and we saw the touchdowns. We saw the competitive nature that he has. And there's a very, very strong case to be made that he's going to be the second best receiver on this team this year and could lead them in receptions just because of how many catches he warrants in different situations. So Jack Besh, because of the numbers I think he could put up and the touchdowns I think he could catch this year, I have him in a possible category. Cole Taylor, tight end. We've heard a lot this spring and summer about how the tight ends will be used under Denbrock and Kelly. I can't bring myself to see it. I can't. Again, no disrespect to Cole Taylor. I just think Jack Mashburn will get some of the snaps there. I think that they're gonna really be they're gonna try to find ways to use 4 receiver sets. They're going to try to use ways to really get their quarterbacks into easier situations. And albeit they've used a lot of tight ends in the past, I think they understand that they do not have the weaponry at tight end at this moment to play like they have in the past. So I don't see Cole Taylor having – I think he has a better year. I think he's fine, but I just don't see him being one of the, top 2 tight ends in the conference. I cannot see that. If he's a top 7 tight end in the conference, I think this is an amazing year for Cole Taylor and this offense. But top 2 is very unrealistic to me. Cam Wire, I'm going to have in the unlikely category. I like him. He's the only returner, really, if you consider those 5 starters last year, 4 of them now in the NFL. Cam Wire is the only returner, and whether you put him at left tackle, right tackle, a lot of it was right tackle during the fall. Cam Wire will be a consistent force for this team. I think he's going to be real solid. I don't like him as much as I think Frazier's. I think Frazier's upside's higher than him. I just think Cam Wire kind of is what he is at this moment. However, I think that's a really, really good tackle. I think that's a solid player over there. So I like Cam Wire. I think it's unlikely, but I still like him to round out this offense. So that's how I have the offense looking. If y'all want to screenshot that, send it to a friend. Just be like, hey, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. How dare he have Cole Taylor in the no category? But let's get to the defense, because this is real interesting to me. Obviously, a lot of turnover. As you can see, some different colored jerseys down here as they went to the transfer portal for the secondary, and then you have a lot of new faces over here with the linebackers, and but then defensive line was pretty much the same. So let's get to it. B.J. Ojulari, defensive end, jack position. If you've been reading our stuff, you know how they're going to use the jack position this year. How many defensive? So there's 8 total defensive linemen that get taken every year. 4 for first team, 4 for second team. I cannot see B.J. Ojulari not making that list. Now, if they shouldn't. I can't say that. I haven't seen the defense in its final form yet, but I don't think they'll list him as a linebacker. At that jack position. I hope they put him as defense lineman because he's going to be rushing. I assume they will. But yeah, I have B.J. Ojulari as a lock pretty much. I think if he's healthy, I think if he plays the position the way I know he can, he's going to be putting up significant sack numbers and be one of the sack leaders in the SEC. I expect B.J. Ojulari to be very, very good this year and show why he is a first-round draft pick. So B.J. Ojulari, awesome. Greg Brooks, transfer from Arkansas, nickel. Was pretty much the nickel the entire year, or the entire spring. I'm going to have him as unlikely. I think he's a good player. There were times I questioned his man coverage ability in the spring. However, at the end of the day, Greg Brooks is a solidified SEC starter, and I think at the very worst, he is a capable nickel for this team, which is why I have him unlikely. I just don't think – he's definitely not a no. He's somewhere in that range. So, unlikely. Next, we have Mekhi Gardner from UL. This is difficult. I really want to just put him right here because, Lord, I do not know. I really liked what I saw from him in the spring, but at the same time, I'm going to put it as unlikely. How many defensive backs? 8 defensive backs make it, and that includes safeties and everything. I don't think he makes it. I don't think he makes an all-SEC team. Or at least I don't think it's likely. So, I'm going to have Mekhi Gardner down here. I am pretty high on him, though. I liked his man coverage a lot. I think he holds up well physically. I think he has good size, 6'1". And with Jarek Bernard-Converse out for the spring, we got to see him in a lot of CB1 situations where he was taking on the top receiver, whoever LSU had out there at the moment. So, I like Mekhi Gardner a lot. I'm going to put him in the unlikely category. Next up, we have Jarek Bernard-Converse, or just Jarek Bernard, as some people like to call him. Someone who I love the tape on. I know he's not perfect, or else he'd be in the NFL right now. Like, there's no question he could have gone to the NFL. Coming off a year where he was an all Big 12 first team. But I'm putting him in the possible category. I just think he's too versatile. He showed some good flashes in zone, and man, I really trust what he brings as far as the consistency aspect to this defense. And I think he will be a product of some of the other things going right on this defense. I think if Jarek Bernard-Converse ends the year with 3-4 interceptions, you're looking at this defense saying, okay, the defense line dominated. The linebackers held their own in the run game and in the pass. And Jarek Bernard-Converse was kind of a product of what this defense was. And I think if the defense plays well, Bernard-Converse ends up having a really good year because I think he's just too talented, and he's proven it at Oklahoma State to be an all Big 12 first-team player last year. He definitely has the capabilities of being an all-SEC performer this year. Next, let's get to Jaquelin Roy, someone who my eyes have kind of been opened up to him this offseason. All right, and here, let me talk about him while I figure out if I want to put him in a locker possible. He's definitely going to be one of the best pass rushing interior defensive linemen in the SEC, right? Like I said, 8 defensive linemen make the all-SEC team. I think LSU will have one of the best defensive lines in the country. The problem is Alabama, Georgia, and other SEC teams also have great defensive linemen. So to be a top 8 defensive lineman is asking a lot. I'm looking at this notepad that has all the breakdowns of the all-SEC teams on it. And so I'm thinking to myself, Jaquelin Roy, man, if everything goes right, he ends the year with like 5, 6, 7 sacks, 15, 16, 17, however many tackles for loss. I think he has a great year, and I think that would warrant an all-SEC team. If there's a question, I don't think I could put him as a lock. I think it's very possible that he's probably the top, like in this possible category, he's probably the top guy, and I think he's close to a lock. But I don't want to lock him in yet. I feel really good about his game. I'm not going to put him as a lock though. I really like what Jaquelin Roy can do. All right, Jay Ward started last year, showed flashes, got hurt early on, came back, pretty good, really good in coverage. You want him to kind of round out his game, but you're interested to see what he can do at this year. Ooh, this is tough. This is really tough. I'm gonna put him. All right, let's skip him. let's skip him. Let's go to Joe Fuchsia. I'm also gonna have him in the unlikely category. I think he's good. I think he's a playmaker. He proved that at Arkansas. Even though he's not the biggest safety, I think he definitely proved himself as someone who could just make plays all over the field. I like Joe Fuchsia in the unlikely category. Mike Jones Jr. I actually like him to have a little bit of a breakout year. However, not as much as Damone Clark did last year. He still has to prove it to me a little bit. Great. Going to be really good in coverage because he comes from a nickel background, obviously at Clemson, and he's been working his way inside. If he gets a starting job, which I expect him to at this moment, I think he has a good year, but I don't think it's all SEC. Greg Penn will round out the linebackers, the 2 linebackers. I think he's unlikely as well. If he starts, which he should start, again, these should be the 2 inside starting linebackers. I think Penn will rack up the tackles. I think he might be a favorite to lead the team in tackles this year, but I just don't see it coming around for him as far as all SEC caliber. I mean, how many 6 linebackers make it? Damone Clark made all SEC first team last year, but he also had like 140 tackles. So Jay Ward, by process of elimination, because I'm not going to squeeze him in the unlikely category. I do think it's possible. I think there's a good chance he's one of the better safeties in the SEC and the best safety on this team if everything goes right. I think this is one of those situations where, kind of like Miles Brennan, where you want to see him stay healthy, you want to see him thrive in the new system, and I think if all that happens, I think Jay Ward has the capabilities, the ball skills, the zone coverages, he covers ground really well. I think he's flexible enough. I think he can earn an all-SEC, make an all-SEC team, rather. All right, these last 2 are tough for me. Mason Smith and Ali Gay. Because I think Ali Gay was on track to make an all-SEC team before he got hurt last year. The question is now, how many mouths can be fed? B.J. Ojulari, Jaquelin Roy, Mason Smith, and Ali Gay. It's an amazing defensive line. I've said it time and time again. This defensive line is utterly ridiculous, and if they don't produce, then I don't know what has gone wrong. But I fully expect them to produce. Having 2 defensive ends on the same team make an all-SEC team seems difficult, but I'm really gonna ride the Mason Smith hype train here. I think Mason Smith is just an amazing player. Every time I watch him in the workouts they do in the camp, and I am completely sold on Mason Smith being a first-round draft pick in 2 years and being a stud, and so I think it starts this year. Ali Gay, I think he's really, really good. I think there's a chance he makes it, but I'm going to put him as a possible candidate because I just not sure the numbers will be as potent with all these other names here. I mean, it's going to be tough, but Oligay is a traditional defensive end. Unlike B. Joe Jolari, kind of playing that jack position, Oligay will get after quarterback really well, and I think he could easily make a second team along with Jaquelin Roy, but I can't predict all four of these guys to make, to take up 4 of the 8 defensive line slots on the SEC team. So I won't put them as locks. I think it's very possible, though. And that is the list. There you have it right there. I feel pretty good about this. I went into this prepped, but I didn't go into this knowing exactly where I would place people. So I feel good about this. Again, I like Malik Neighbors maybe as a possible option. I like Mekhi Gardner maybe possible. Oligay, Jaquelin Roy maybe up there. Yeah, it's going to be real interesting. I still, again, I like these names I have down here as far as their potential goes, but there's just, all SEC is a different caliber of player. I mean, we're talking about the best of the best here. If you go look at the 2021 All SEC team, it's first round. I mean, not first round, but it's high level draft picks usually, and so that's what we're going to be asking of these guys. And a lot of this also projects, if this is the case, if they end up getting those 3 on an All SEC team, and then a couple of these guys in there as well, you're looking at a year that 9 wins. Let's say they go 9-3. I think that's a great first season under Brian Kelly, and I think that is maximizing the potential of this team if they win 9 to 10 games. So, yeah, that's all we have for y'all today. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a like, comment, share it, all that stuff. Let me know what you think of the list. Who would you place where? Who would you replace? Would you have John Emery higher? Would you have Jarrick Bernard-Converse higher, lower? Let me know what you think of all these players. I appreciate it. If you're not already subscribed to our site, Geaux247.com, you can become a subscriber for a discounted price. I believe we're running the first month for $1 right now. But yeah, thank you all for joining me, and I will talk to y'all later.